Our key objective is to provide an electronic platform for sharing data across the hospital and with patients. In doing that, we have five key purposes. The first one is to increase profitability for the hospital. Now, profitability basically here means that we have control over our inputs and our outcomes. So we can modify that to make sure that we would have better results across board. I mean, this extends both in terms of financial outcome or clinical outcomes for the hospital. We want to increase efficiency across the hospital and increase quality of care. We also want to provide a transparent, performance-driven environment where everybody's work can be measured objectively and transparently, and also turn this hospital into a center of excellence. Now, when you look at how a patient's journey through the hospital goes, that guides us to how we're going to implement the health information system, because largely the health information system is a patient-centric platform, because really we're all here because of the patient. So the patient arrives at the hospital, he gets registered, we print him a health card, we set an appointment for him, he goes to pay his bill, he goes into the clinic and is checked in at the appointed the day that he has the appointment for. He's checked in to see the doctor. The doctor gets to see him and document that. He orders his investigation. The bill is generated. The patient pays for the bill. The order is communicated to the service unit, and the patient is checked out of the clinic. He goes to enjoy service at the various service points. The results of the are sent back to the doctor. The doctor admits the patient to the ward. Subsequently, the patient is checked into the ward. The patient health encounters in the wards are documented. Investigations and medications are ordered. The patient is billed. The patient pays for those services, and the orders are communicated to the various individual service units that would provide those services. So the patient goes to enjoy service. Ultimately, the patient gets well and is discharged from the hospital as well. So basically, this encapsulates a one view overview of how the patient walks through the hospital. As you would see, various boxes are colored in different colors. Those basically reflect the different modules that we have and how we attend to the patient within the system. So the black modules is your health records module, takes care of your electronic registration. The green ones are your patient, the clinic management module. So you have the health records module, you have the clinic management module. The red ones are your finance module and payment module. While the purple ones are your health your clinical documentation modules, where you keep all the records that the health encounters and the investigations. The blue ones are your laboratory modules and your order system that you use to communicate requests between the doctor and the support services. This could be pharmacy, radiology, the labs, as you may have it. The brown ones are your ward management module, as well. So in a nutshell, basically, with this view, you can see how the various modules interrelate as the patient moves across the hospital. So as we go on, we'll list down the various modules and we'll see how it is. So the health information system actually consists of about 17 modules. We have the user management module, which is the module that basically encapsulates what is happening in the physical world. So all your human resource details goes into there. Everybody in the hospital, well, that's what we assign a username and a password, and we know who the person is when he signs in. All the various entities within the hospital, the wards, the labs, all those are also documented within the user management system, so that we have an electronic copy of whatever is whatever physical resources we have. So next you have the health records module, which I explained captures all your health registration, your statistics, your coding, and all that is built into the health records module. Your clinic management system basically manages the clinic and patient workflow into the clinic, setting appointment, checking the patients in, doctor getting to see the patient and checking out the patients and all that, the nurse attending to the patient. All that is done within the clinic module. The pharmacy module basically caters for everything within the pharmacy subset. So from their inventory to their dispensing, all that is captured, and all the reporting that is done. The same thing happens for the laboratories as well. So all your labs get in there, send in the request, processing the request. So basically you have a laboratory information system, and then for radiology you also have like a radiology information system. So sending the request, writing the report, viewing the images, and tying the images and the reports together, all is in that. And the ward management system basically manages the patients on the ward as well. So you have the theater system, the theater module, which basically takes care of theater, the blood bank takes care of the blood bank. Communication. So in communication, our system is able to interact with the outside world, either using SMS. So when you set up an appointment or you register the patient gets an SMS alert. When you bill the patient, gets an SMS alert. When he makes payment, he gets an SMS alert. When the results are ready, the physician gets an SMS alert. So all of that is then captured in the communication. And again, within the application, you can do what we call inter-application communication as well. So payment basically captures all your payment system within the hospital, and it ensures that you have a cashless hospital system, and that payment is monitored. I can bet you by the time we implement the payment system, you're going to see that a lot of ways that funds used to leak out of the hospital are going to be stopped, because it completely just transforms the whole system and makes it integrated. Again, it helps the patients very pretty much, because it prevents the patients from having to walk up and down to go do payment. Rather, the service comes to them. They can pay anywhere they are within the hospital as they decide. Inventory basically talks about non-pharmaceutical consumables in the hospital and tracking and utilizing them. Clinical documentation basically is how the various clinicians document the patient case. The beauty about the application is that the clinical documentations are physician driven. So the clinical teams will sit down and decide how they want to document and create a document, and they can use that same clinical documentation to run their research processes, to capture their nursing data, physiotherapy. So everybody that's going to write a document concerning patient care basically utilizes the clinical documentation, and the control for that clinical documentation is in the hands of the teams that manage those patients. So we have the health insurance module that basically sorts out all the various interactions between the hospital and third-party payment mechanisms, like the National Health Insurance Scheme, the HMOs, and the rest of it. So you also have the research and data exchange, which is basically how you can pull data that is anonymized for research purposes or for reporting purposes, either to the state government or the federal government, as the case may be. So basically, all that system is arranged in this rollout methodology. So we come in and get to do your user management, your electronic registration, your communication, and your payment. This is critical because those are the foundational blocks that we need to get going, and every other thing else is dependent on getting those going. After that, we can come in and do the clinic management, put in the health insurance, and then the inventory system. From the clinic management, you have the clinical documentation, immunization, telemedicine, ward management, radiology, pharmacy, labs, and all that. For us, we tend to tackle it in basically 3 phases, and you can see that highlighted there. And we realize that everything is interdependent, so we try to work it out because in such a manner that we have a fluidity. So when we first start off, we get the basic foundational issues done in phase 1, and phase 2 we go on to do the support services and also start out the clinic management, so that again the hospital can immediately show and patient can begin to experience the immediate benefit of what's being done within the hospital. And then we come back in phase 3 to round up everything and finish the project. Great. So we have 17 modules. We're doing them in 3 phases, and we estimate that it will take us 6 months to get this done. With the mindset that every other thing that we require is in place. And good enough, since this has been promoted by Fidelity Bank, that means that funding will not be an issue. We can just come in there, get in all our stuff, get it done, and be out in record time. So phase 1 is going to include user management, health records, the payment, and communication. Phase 2, we have radiology, pharmacy, inventory, clinic management, labs, and theater. Phase 3, we have ward management, clinical documentation, health insurance, research and data exchange, blood bank, immunization, and telemedicine. Now, how do we implement this? We don't just come in and dump the hospital information system on the users, not at all. But what we do is that we first sit down with each unit, a department that we're going to be dealing with. And we do what's called a process mapping and a user assessment. We ask them, how do things work here? We want to learn how you work, because the application is supposed to fit how you work, not fit you to how the application works. Because we own 100% of the source code, it's easy for us to make modifications, and create turnaround time within 24 hours, getting this done. So we do process mapping, and then we assess the users. What are their capabilities, and how do they interact with the system? Do they have any training needs? And we get all that done. So we take all that information, we go back and we customize the application. We come back and demonstrate the application. Again, we get users' feedback, and they tell us, okay, we want this, we want that, or change this, change that. We do all that revision, and then we deploy it, and then we train them to use it. And then we take a small part of the hospital, of that department, and pilot it, see actually how it works within the operation. Within how the system operates within that environment. Once that is done, we come back again and do an implementation review, and then with that feedback, we can then upscale either departmental wide or hospital wide, and then we have an ongoing monitoring. So we're not just a one-off sales thing. We're actually going to be with you, I believe, over the next 1 to 2 years, just monitoring and evaluating and making sure that everything works well. Now, one thing I can assure you is this, that once people get to use it and begin to see how efficient it is, they always want more features, they want to add more things. And because I am a member of the community, I mean, one of the few things you can guarantee is that I want to stick it through to make sure that everybody is happy with the system. In fact, we tell ourselves that except that the end users are happy with the system, we are not satisfied. They have to be happy, they have to be able to tell other people of how wonderful and how their work has been transformed, using the application. Of course, there might be problems here and there, but again, because of my experience, and this is probably going to be like, because of our experience, I mean, we're doing this in UCH, in Delaware State University, teaching hospital, Gara. So, I mean, we're bringing all that experience, to bear here to fast track a lot of things that is happening. Okay, so what does it take to do this? Basically, there are about 7 components to this. One is the users, as I've explained in the previous slide. We're very also user-centric. We need to engage users, we need to educate them, we need to analyze their needs, and we need to train them. The other is the client devices, the desktops, the laptops, the slates, and accessories. I'm going to be talking about slates later on. But basically, these are the ways by which the users engage with the system. They're the tools that they use to engage with the system. Again, the large part of the expenditure really lies within that client devices, purchasing hardware that the hospital is going to use across board. And then, of course, there's the network. The network is what connects the client devices to the servers where the application actually resides. So the servers are like big computers that are meant to run like 24/7 all the time, and we have our applications inside it. So our applications do not necessarily require the internet to function, but because you have a network, so you have like an intranet, so everything works within it. But it would be nice to have internet at some point in time, and then we have to do document digitization and archival. Again, this also is a critical process that we must bear in mind. Our goal is to first come in, get all the patient biodata inside the system in electronic format, and then we can come back as a second stage and begin to scan all the case notes, if you want that to be done, and have them ready for the doctors to use, so that they don't necessarily need to go and pull case notes. There'll be no issue of, oh, case notes are missing, patients' results are missing, and all that. That's completely out of it. And everybody, so if you have a team managing, different multi-specialty team managing, it means that everybody can have access to the case notes at the same time without having to photocopy, or they can have real-time engagement managing the patient without even being in the same location together. Of course, there's the almighty power. Power is required to get all this going, and I believe that with the assistance of Fidelity Bank, we're able to basically take care of all the costing that needs to be done, so that the hospital can get started. Now, the critical thing to understand about costing and funding for this is that the startup is really normally very, very high, but maintenance is pretty low, because once you have all the systems in place, it's pretty easy to maintain and very cheap to maintain the system, and the overall efficiency pays off 1,000 times for this. Okay, so I'm going to take you through a couple of screenshots about the application to show you, how various parts of the application works. If we're going to go through the entire application, we'll probably here for the next one day, but we'll just run you through a summary, just give you a look and feel of how this is, and this is taken from the usage implementation that we have ongoing. So you have a login. That's what the patient sees once they get in onto their computers. And everything runs through the web browser, so there's no installation that's going to go on any computer. Once we've installed on the server, that's really it. Any other computer can work with it. So you log in, you username and password. The thing about our application is that once you log in, you come into the staff landing page. Now, our application is both roster based and role based, and it also has some identification of where you are. So when you log in, you can see at the top hand side, so location says this person is central records, this is his name, and he can log out, and these are the items he can deal with. So this person is logged in is in the health records unit of the hospital, so he has access to the health records module, and he can do stuff with it. Now again, it's role based because if roster based, because everybody's engagement has a time frame. So if you're on leave and you come back and sign into the system, the system will log you out because you're not supposed to be at work. So again, it's just a measure of ensuring that security is in the system and everybody's accountable to whatever they're doing within the system as much as is possible, and to make sure that everybody's on track with the system, and that we can also place you where you're supposed to be based on your roster at each point in time. So you can set up the shift, which is part of the roster system, and so this is how you go on to set up a roster. You set up the unit where the person is, you set up the location where the person is supposed to be, and then the kind of shift that he has, and then the start and finish dates for that rotation, and that goes on. So once that's set up, for the patient can then log in and see that. So this is the registration platform. So you have all the basic things that you need to register for the patient. You'd have the basic bio data, you have the contact details, you have the next of kin, you have the registration identification, which is actually where you put in the hospital number for the patient. And it really doesn't matter if the patient has, if you're doing multiple registrations in our system, because really, like I said, the application is patient-centric. So one patient can have 5 numbers, and we can identify those 5 numbers across the hospital. 5 different numbers, meaning that so he has maybe one number that's coming from E&E, has one that's coming from central registration, he has one that's coming from radiology, and all that. But we all identify that person as one, using that hospital number, and then you can put in background information that has ethnicity, religion, and also the metadata that we need for our patient registration. So once that's done, it's successfully, you can also come back and search for the patient details. So you have a dashboard that's a bar that you can use to find patients. So you run a search, most likely at AME, and then you can then see all the details, and you can then go ahead to modify the details as you will for the health registration component. I must say that it's critical to get the health records. So really, that's the focal point, because the patients have to be in the system for them to be used, and we're going to spend quite some time and processes, trying to do that and ensuring that one person has one central registration, ID as much as possible. Okay, so for the clinic, this is basically what the workflow looks like. It's a financial check. We set up an appointment. You bill the patient. There's a financial check. It comes into the nursing. They do their vitals. They send to the doctor's pool. The doctors attend to the patient. They can either send back to keep in the doctor's pool for that doctor to review, or they can send out to the nursing exit pool, such that that somebody can. The nurses can attend to them post the consultation and experience. As well, the nurses can attend to the patient, and then and check out the patient, either to go home or to come back for another appointment. Or in worst case scenario, the patient dies in clinic. Um, Again, the clinic model allows you to be able to do attendance tracking, both prospective and retrospective. You can check out the photos, you can do auto appointments, and then you have quite a number of setups you can do for the system as well. You can set up various appointments and specialties that are run in the clinic, and we have quite a number of backend configuration that we do. Our system is basically very flexible and open-ended, so that it can fit into as many settings as much as is possible. We can modify it, to work the way you run things. And so this is the clinic model. So we're setting up an appointment. So you do a patient search, and once you find the patient, you go into key who the consultant is that's managing the patient, what clinic he's going to, that's been run by that consultant, the date, when you want the application, when you want the patient to come. So there's no point having patients coming at 6 a.m. when they're going to have an appointment, when they're going to get to see the doctor at 4 o'clock, 4 p.m. in the afternoon. So this allows you to be able to plan your clinic and determine what your workload is. As you will see from the upper end here, we also have a place where we actually set a limit to how many patients we can see conveniently within the clinic. So this says there are 20 patients that we can see, and so far 2 patients have been booked, out of those 20. This gives you an idea of when the clinic is holding, the clinic schedules, and you can choose which one you want to assign the patient to, and then it gives you an idea of how many doctors are available for that appointment. Again, you have the patient banner, which basically gives all your bio data about the patient, the name of the patient, when he was born, what his occupation is, his tribe, and then his hospital number and all that. So once that is done, when the patient comes for that day, we then check in the patient. So we have the clinics, and then we have people who are expecting, and then we take them in when they show up, and then we have a list of that. And so once that is done, once they're checked in, they get into the nursing pool, and from the nursing pool, the nurses go to do their documentation, the vital signs, and this is basically an idea of what the clinical documentation looks like. Again, the doctors also will use this to document them. So you have like your case notes. Basically, it simulates what you're currently used to. So all the documentations are arranged by date, with the most recent at the top. So you can look at what's happening immediately to the patient, and so we have that by dates on the side of it. So each of all this, all the dates, all the documentation that have been done are listed there, and then once you click that, it opens the documentation that's been done for that patient. You have an idea of what kind of documentation it is, and then who did that documentation. Just basically highlights of the clinical documentation, without any data entry as well, and then with some data entry, like I said, so you can see, once you click on the date, you can see the various documentations that have been done for that day. So this is a summary on the 7th of September 2012 for this patient. Okay, and then from there we'll move on to doing the radiology request. Basically, it just replaces the request card for the patient. And then one key point to note is that all our requests are already imputed in the system. So we're using a lot of international data sets to make our requests. So nobody's going to type anything in terms of the actual request that is supposed to be scheduled, because that's already in the system already. So you just choose, click, and then that's done for you. It ensures that everything is clean. So we're using the ICD-10 PCS for that. It makes sure that everything is clean and that is up to international standard, as well as making it computable for your research when the time comes. So this is like a field request now with the examination required associated there. And we send that request, and that request is saved. When it gets to the radiology department itself, they can search for that request and they can begin to deal with it as well. So that's the search for Apmis Michael, and this is the request, so they know what to do. And then once they've done that, they can then attach, if you have electronic images, DICOM images, the radiographers will be familiar with this. We can then attach the image, so your CTs, your MRIs, your digital X-rays can all be attached to the request form, and then it becomes available for all the people to use. And so when the consultant or the senior rad comes, they just sit in the system anywhere within the hospital, and they can report those X-rays and the CTs inside the system. So once they write their report, they can also view the images right in the browser. So this is like a CT. As you can see, it's all within the browser. No, nothing is installed, and so you have a bit of flexibility. You have quite a lot of flexibility with the system. It means that anywhere you have, once you're connected with the network, you can walk and you can access resources across the hospital. And this is what the report looks like across for radiology, and it's clean, it's neat. The beauty about this is that this research, this report is computable. I can come back and run various research queries on this. So I want all the CTs of all the head injured patients in the past 6 months. I mean, they can get that within 30 minutes, and that's it. That's the beauty of the system. Just highlighting again once more how the report looks like. And then there's pharmacy, so this is where you put in the drugs when they come in. At the clerical store, it goes into the central store. From the central store, they receive it, and then they send it off to the satellite pharmacies, which actually then in turn receive the drugs and then dispense to the patient. So they have a point where they assess the prescription and generate, the estimated bill for that prescription, and then they go on to dispense the drug afterwards. And so this is how they dispense. Again, they start for the patient, and the patient makes payment for the drugs, and that's keyed into the system. And then the drugs is dispensed, and as we're dispensing, we're monitoring what the patient's account and transaction is, so we know what exactly is happening across board. And you dispense this drug, and then you can also do the pharmacists can communicate with themselves, of giving information based on this prescription, so that next time when the patient comes to reuse that prescription, we know how to deal with it effectively, and then we'll print the receipt or invoice, as the case may be. We'll also allow you to be able to do within the system a medication history, so you can look at all the drugs that have been issued to this patient, all the drugs the patient has been taking from one single click. As well, you can also look at it from a financial point of view. How much has this patient been spending over time for his medication? Again, that brings us to the whole world of being able to do health economic research, which is currently lacking within the country. So we then have data to do, it costs so much to manage diabetic care for 1 year, and so we can set up programs that would either bring down the cost or make it more efficient to manage those systems and help our planning processes as well as engage with drug. Also, you're able to look for a drug and be able to find out within a click where that drug is available across the hospital without having to ring all the pharmacists to find out where the drug is or is not. So for carbamoxicillin, it's in satellite pharmacies, and you got four of it, and here will give us what the batch number and all that is as well, and then the pricing. That's well, so we can set up prices for those centrally. We can also do a stock audit to just things can happen while drugs are in stock, but it gives you an idea of what is happening, and helps you modify and account for it in a transparent manner as well. So you can make requisition for the drugs within the system, and then, like I said, you just have quite tons of setups we do at the back end, but that's available, so you the system is pretty flexible and user friendly for us. After we've gone, I need to talk about this device because one of the key things that we found out is that doctors don't like to type. They don't like to type. So basically, what we'll be presenting is this device which allows you to be able to do handwriting to text. So basically, it's like a laptop, but it's in the iPad, which I'm sure most of you are familiar. So imagine a fusion of your iPad and your laptop as one. So it runs Windows system, everything you can do, all the applications you can run on your laptop now will run on this device, and it gives you ability to do handwriting recognition as well. So you can write on it, and then all those notes are translated, into text into the system before you commit it on there. Other things that we'll be doing, we talked about the health card during the process. We're going to put in telemedicine, we could do mapping, we could do SMS for pregnancy, which is wherein all the pregnant women that get registered in the hospital get a text every day, and then they can call into the call center and they can get medical attention. So basically, it's just providing better services for the patients and utilizing high health IT, to its optimum. We can put a unified communication server, so you have email, chat, video conferencing within the hospital and outside, and then an immunization platform as well. We can then come up with various health solutions. So at some point in time, once we've fully established this, the patients can be able to engage with doctors better, in monitoring their care, and of course, we'll provide training as well. Again, I just want to bring us and refresh our memory about what it takes to do this, because really, that's where this is what will actualize the dream. So we need to look at the users, we need to look at what the devices are, we need to look at what networks we need to put in place and servers that we need to put in place, the application itself, and then the cost for doing the digitization, and as well as power. So once we have all this all catered for, thankfully Fidelity Bank is leading this, so money is not an issue. They would help us take care of all this, and then we can plan this appropriately based on whatever analysis that we would do. So that basically brings me to the end of the presentation.